See, diners in the New York metropolitan area and the coffee shops all run by Greeks. And you will walk in there, there was always a queue. And they will point to you. This is sort of like, the Coke, Pepsi from Saturday
John
Night.
Belushi, yeah.
John Belushi.
Cheeseburger, chicken, chip.
They would actually point to you and say, they won't even say, hello, how are you? None of that stuff. They just point to you. You would say, I want 2 coffee regulars and a roll with butter, right? If you don't, when they point to you, if you don't get your order out like in about 3.2 seconds, they skip you and go to the next person. You're done.
Gdayall, and welcome to episode 17. You feeling awake, Phil?
What?
How about
I'm awake.
How about a cup of joe?
Oh, please.
So today, I'm going to welcome Phil here when he's awake. He's had a sip. We're going to be talking about demystifying American coffee and coffee culture.
Like coffee, or how do you say that? Where are you from?
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't have the inflection that you do, but we'll be talking about that a little bit later. I will have a brewed beverage. It's just, we're not talking about, and any American that's listening to us that's living in Australia realize it's different here. When we first moved here, it was instant coffee. The Melbourne hipster coffee culture hadn't hit yet.
Yeah.
So espresso wasn't easy to find. And people had international roast in their house.
How lovely was that? When they said to me, when I first came here, and
Yes.
I went out for a takeaway coffee, not a takeout coffee.
Yes.
And they gave me a styrofoam cup with that instant Nescafe. And I said, no, I'll have tea. Thank you.
Brendan's dad, because he had a shop, and he said, they make the best coffees down the road. I have to get you one. And what it consisted of was hot milk instead of water used with the Nescafe.
Yeah, probably better.
And it did kill some of that taste.
Yeah.
He was right. So we're going to talk about brewed coffee today. So diner coffee especially, but our love for it and how it weaves inside our culture. Mm-hmm. And Phil, we were just having a chat before. One of your first memories of coffee?
My first one, I remember, before I started drinking coffee, because as a kid, you don't drink coffee. Maybe at the holidays we had, being Italian, so you had American coffee, and then you had what my family used to call black coffee, which was espresso. And so that was the difference. And they had a little bit of that, the espresso at the end of the meal with some anisette in it, and
nice.
And the pastries, of course. But you need that to cut the sugar.
Yeah, that's
so. But actually, my first genre going into coffee was going shopping with my mom or my father and going to the A&P. Mm-hmm. So the A&P at one time was the biggest supermarket in America. A&P means Atlantic and Pacific. And they were famous for their 8 o'clock coffee.
Right.
I don't know if that was 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night. I don't know. But it was the 8 o'clock coffee.
Uh-huh.
So the thing was, as soon as you walked into the A&P, the only thing you smelled was coffee.
That's magic.
And the reason why is because you went down the coffee aisle. You had like these little things that you pour. They gave you the bag. You pour your coffee beans into the bag. Depends upon the type of roast. So you had probably like 2 different types, like a dark roast and a regular roast. When you go to check out, each of the checkouts had a coffee grinder. And they would grind the coffee fresh. So as soon as, that's why when you walked into that store, you had to buy coffee.
Well, that would have smelled
I got 42
beautiful.
pounds at home. No, I got to have coffee.
Fresh.
It would just hit you like a brick.
That would set the whole day. Wait.
It was like the best marketing ploy to sell coffee ever.
I can imagine.
And the only other place that does that, I think that it's in Commerce or City of Commerce in California at Costco. There's one Costco in America that blends and roasts their own coffee in-house.
Ooh.
Okay, so you could Google it and look for do Costco roasting coffee at the store. There's only one Costco out of like 600 something stores globally that does it.
Well, of course, it'd be in California.
It's Oh yeah, they got one person grinding it while watching it or experiencing it. Yeah.
Okay, we'll stop with that. Let's just talk about quickly the topics we're going to talk about today. We'll get back to how to pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
It's brewed magic. Coffee in diners or coffee shops. So, because we will be talking about diners and diner food later on. So let's not confuse that.
Yeah.
TV and movies, our consumption habits, volumes and volumes of coffee that we go through as Americans. A little bit of the history of it, the price of it, because it's still, my stepfather nearly keeled over when he came here and got a long black, and it was like $4.50.
Yeah.
He nearly died. So, the price of coffee, what it is at home still. And, we grew up on more sort of agricultural area, little city, and you're metropolitan. So our different habits of who goes when and how people meet up and the evolution of it.
Yep. It does evolve.
It does. It does. Although I like my old school. I'm actually having coffee right now out of a thick cup, not as thick as the cafes we've talked about. And it's the only way I can drink black coffee is in this cup. I don't know. So, Phil, we've got some fun facts.
And the fun facts? Well,
yes?
Joe. Remember, you just asked me if I wanted some Joe. I said, who's Joe? Anyway, during the big WW2, American Soldiers was known as G.I. Joe, just like the little toy, right? And they called him G.I. Joe because they drank large amounts of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And so the nickname came about because Joe and the coffee. So you want a cup of Joe?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I like Joe. You want a cup? Hey. Hey, down bad. Yeah, you want a cup of coffee? Come on.
You get a cup of Joe. Yes. Well, I always wondered how that came about. That is pretty interesting. And I think World War II.
And then where did Jabba Joe come in? Or was that just a song?
I don't know that song. I'm going to have to look at that later. We might be out of it. Now, there is another story which, God bless people trying to break bad habits and make another habit instead. So coffee began to gain greater importance as the temperance movement developed in the 1830s.
So those are all the people that actually started taking away the alcohol.
Yeah, that's right. So
what's wrong with those people?
Well, obviously they don't like fun at all. So a restaurant owner in Rhode Island was a convert to the role of changing Americans from drinking alcohol, because it used to be almost like a mid-morning beverage. Well, so that could be an issue, especially machinery, to change it to hot coffee. So it's if a man, this magazine said, if a man must from habit drink at 11 o'clock, let him drink hot coffee. So that was the beginning of coffee being associated with being sober, alert, and morally superior.
Ooh, so coffee makes you morally superior.
Well, I don't think they know that.
Because you get all wired up. Yeah.
That's right. They obviously didn't understand about sobering yourself, the use of coffee to sober yourself up after having
So then there was a religious moment after that too, right?
Yes.
With the monks and Pope Clement the Eighth to outlaw drinking what they call the devil's beverage. Of course, it was black. God. The Pope argued that drinking so much will be a sin, but he said it has to do because if it's a sin, then only pagans will drink it. Did I say that right?
No, you didn't.
No.
So what it is?
So how you interpret it?
I read a little bit on this because I found it quite funny, because I don't know why people
Do they use holy water to brew the coffee? Let me ask you that.
No.
Okay.
But so they went to the Pope. They go, look, this is like the devil's beverage. We need to get rid of it. He goes, okay, wait. I got to taste this first. So he tasted it and he went, to quote my father, damn, that's good. So he said it would be a sin. It would be a sin to only let the pagans drink it.
Oh, okay. That's where the pagans come in. Yeah. Okay.
That's right. So it was so good. I don't know if he told that to his wife and his kids that were in the other room too.
The Pope?
Yeah, in the old days.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Not legit, but, he had his coffee and everything else going.
Yeah.
So coffee has gone from being evil to then a replacement of evil.
Yes.
That's why it's magic. And I think
it's time for a coffee break.
That's exactly right.
All right, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back from our coffee break.
Nice.
Do you say coffee?
I say coffee.
Coffee. Yeah. When I moved to California, And I go to the local diner, and they said, "Do you want?" I said, "I'll have a coffee." And they said, "Oh, you from back east?" No. Look, just give me my coffee, lady. Okay. I just want my coffee, and I'll talk to you later.
If they couldn't tell by the pronunciation, they could tell by the attitude.
Yeah. And then when you say you're from back east, right? Then they say, "Oh, I got a friend like they're from North Carolina." They consider that back east. Yeah, it is on the East Coast, but we don't call it back east. Okay. That's south.
Don't disparage all Californians.
I know.
All right.
Just most of them.
Yes, coffee is. We get a call about that at work because I'll how to say it, or cup of Joe, or black gold, or he's put a pot on in the break room.
Yep.
It's very nice because we actually have a coffee maker in the break room.
Yes. Now you were talking previously about the vessel you are drinking your coffee out of.
Yes. So this is a very heavy, but not heavy like you could crack someone's head open, but nearly. You could throw it and it might not break.
It'll break if you hit somebody with that.
Yeah, it could be. But the coffees is bottomless at the hangouts that you go to. Yeah. But they are a bit smaller, so it doesn't get cold.
Right. And a lot thicker.
In
the old school, probably almost a half inch.
Yeah, could be. And I think maybe it kept it warmer longer.
Yeah, but also it was indestructible. You could drop it out of the 6-story window and it will just bounce and not break.
And there was always someone like, "Can I warm that up for you?"
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, no, I forget all that.
Yeah, it's like, I'll just warm that up for you.
Coffee, regular decaf. They used to come around. Regular decaf.
Yeah, two
cups. Yeah. Just to balance themselves. What did they do before the decaf came out?
So you leave thinking you have 1 cup of coffee, but you're wired because you've had about 57 by the time you've left. There was it's sort of bitter. So diner coffee, actually, as I was studying about all this, because it does all taste the same. Yeah. Or coffee house coffee shop. The bun burners or the bun makers, they actually, before we got into the ritual of making nice coffee, they boil the water. They keep hot water in the back, so they don't boil fresh water and run it through the grounds. So the water's hot. Yep. Goes through the ground, so that kind of makes it a bit of a flatter taste. And then no one turns the burners off, so it's
not always on all the time.
Yeah, so it caramelizes. So they all have the same sort of bitter taste. But it's what you want.
But it also depends on the water.
Yes.
Okay. Or some places call it water.
Water.
Okay.
Yes.
So when I first went to Kansas, and my sister, originally New Yorker, making coffee, and I think my father or my mother said, "Aren't you? That's all the coffee you're putting into the coffee maker, And it's because of the hard water, you don't use as much coffee. It does something to the coffee. So, in other words, we would put, say, 6 scoops in. Yep. They would put 3.
Oh, I okay.
But then when I went to California and got to the diner, the coffee there was much weaker than the New York coffee.
Yeah.
So they said, "Oh, I'll brew a fresh pot up," and I always said, "No, I'll take it the way it is because it gets concentrated sitting on those burners, like you're saying. So the burners are going all the time, and it concentrates the coffee by evaporation.
Yep.
So you get a stronger coffee at the end.
And that might be a cup of mud. There's that saying.
Yeah.
And we used to have, I have to just digress for 1 second. I had this guy I worked with. He was an older gentleman. He reminded me of Polly out of Sopranos, just the way he dressed, not the way he talked. And he had like white
wings. He's got the little wings, huh?
Yes, he had. I
want to get those. I'm working on it.
A polyester body shirt that was very old. And Lou Harvey was his name. And Lou Harvey. Oh, and if you accidentally got a cup of Lou Harvey coffee, he would take a brewed batch and he'd run it through the grounds again.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, but it was an accident. Like, you didn't know. He didn't warn you. And you're like, "Oh, my God." And he just sort of giggled.
You'd start drinking, your eyes light up.
Yes. That's probably how he was a car salesman for God knows how long. But, that's the taste of it. Yeah. And you'd also get the little bits of creamers. And sometimes you go to a diner. They had the little long life milks or creamers on the table.
And for the longest time, when I went to a diner and they always had that, I always asked them for milk because I didn't like the taste of the creamers, the coffee mate, things like that. Yeah. It was just one. And now they give you now all the little flavored ones to go there.
Well, that is a huge change because that used to just be a treat at home. But when you get all the different ones down there, it's sort of it's like I went to 7-Eleven.
Except for Florida, because all the old ladies will just take them, bring them home. Give you only one at a time.
That reminds me of another Sopranos episode involving Polly.
Yeah. I remember that one. Yeah, when he took the old ladies out to dinner.
They're putting the bread in the bag.
Oh.
Well, so that's sort of like the charm of it. So I suppose it's just like someone that's never had beer before and you taste it and the first time you have it, it's a bit bitter and you're like, oh.
Yeah. But the coffee creamer settles that out.
Yeah.
And so does half and half. Remember half and half?
Oh, I love half and half.
And everybody asks us now, you got what's half and half?
But I've got the trick to that. I have got the hack. So everyone, if you get in the little carton, there's pure cream.
Yeah.
Right? And it pours like milk. It is half and half. It is the closest thing to half and half.
Oh, okay.
So it's not the thickened cream that's gluggy.
Right.
It just pours like
milk.
Like milk. Mm-hmm. But it is the equivalent to half and half. And occationally I'll get that as a treat around here.
That's good to know because people always ask.
Yeah.
And the recipe says put half and half in there.
Yep. So that's otherwise it's just like full cream milk and a bit of cream. But this one works perfectly.
Yeah. My little trick, what I like with the coffee mate, because now, we have the Nespresso machines and all that.
Yeah.
And we got the little whipper.
Oh, yeah. So frother. Frother.
So the little coffee frother. So I put the milk in there and then I put either one or two, depending on how much sweetness I want in my coffee, of one of the little things of Coffee Mate, like the flavor one, like the French vanilla or the hazelnut or whatever, and pour that in there. And it changes the milk to really creamy.
Oh.
And then you don't need to put sugar in it because it's already sweetened.
Well,
but it just gives it so much nicer taste and really mellows it out. And even if you don't like Coffee Mate, when you do it that way, you'll love it. And it's especially good in iced coffee.
Oh.
Because it makes the flavor in iced coffee, like French vanilla iced coffee. It's just so good.
I have to try that. I have a little frother in there. That's the nice thing about working where we do, because there's always a can of coffee in it, like so Folgers or whatever is there at the moment, and there's some Coffee Mates that just happen to be
out of date or
crushed, and they're always in it. We talk about coffee shops were like sort of lunch counters, coffee shops, and then not necessarily diners, although they filled the same purpose. When I was reading a little bit about it, the history of when sort of McDonald's and other fast food places started, those coffee shops then became like family restaurants. So you get like Lions and that sort of thing. So they're still open 24/7 and you can hang out there when you want, but you don't, like, no one ever makes you feel like you have to order a sandwich.
Right.
So you can walk in, have coffee.
And the places you go to, and because I think of the coffee brewers that they're using, not just the bun, but they always have a different taste to it. So whether it's that or how much coffee they use or the type of coffee they're buying. So even though they're all basically the same, but they do have distinctive taste from one place to the other. So people will just flock to one, you know, like say a Dunkin' Donuts as opposed to, the coffee shop down the block.
Yeah, and I like the mom and pop coffee shops.
Got the atmosphere.
It does. And you probably have the same waitress that's been there for 40 years. Probably named, I think there was one lady.
Alice?
Dot. I did know a Dot. And, the uniforms are a little bit polyestery.
Yeah.
It's like Alice. And there's an attitude to it, but there's usually a smile to it too. Someone digging a pencil out of their pocket, taking your order, and they don't bother you.
No. Everybody is there. They're there to do a job. You get served right away. You're in and out. That was the thing. You were there. It was quick,
Or if you're like me, talking with your friends, you could be there for 4 hours.
Yeah. And they just kept on filling the coffee.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep.
And but always make sure you leave a tip.
Imagine how much it would cost you if you be with your friends for 4 hours and drinking all the coffee you would drink normally, like in America, where you get the free bottomless cup. Over here, you get out and it's like having a bar bill. It's like, oh, you owe us $142 for 22 cups of coffee you just had.
I know. I think it's sad because it was a great, on the weekend you'd go have a coffee and it wasn't. Now you have to go, which is nice as well, but you go have lunch and it's $50 later that you leave. But, we used to do that as teenagers and hang out. And it's in my area, and I don't know about your locals, but in my area, there were certain, it was a community center in a way. Like, my dad used to go to a certain place, and that was where the retired cops go.
Right.
Every day, and they kind of catch up. And so there'd be a retired FBI agent, there'd be a retired cop, there'd be, a sheriff's officer, and maybe they let the fire department retired chief in. And, they'd sit there and chat, and they'd still know what was going on. And then, I would meet with my friends before school sometimes. Dolores, we've had Dolores on the show. She and I used to go to Denny's and study and cram.
Okay.
We go at, she'd come up, it'd be like 5 a.m. We go to Denny's, poor students. So just 47 cups of coffee for 50 cents.
Right. You didn't even get the Grand Slam.
No. Maybe
it was only $2.99. Or those days it would have been $1.99.
That's exactly what it was. And we would sit there and go through, it was psychology. We'd had that class together. And it was great because, none of our parents wanted us stuck at their house, so we didn't want to go to school early. And there's also being a central part of town. I was talking about it. In small towns, and there's elderly people, they say check on people. There are people that come in. I don't think people understand here because of the cost of breakfasts and things here. There are old guys and girls that'll go in and have breakfast at the same spot at the same counter for 40 years.
Right.
So one day if, Jim stops coming in, he's like, has anyone seen Jim? Because he hasn't had his, and they will check on you too. So it's.
Well, that's the other thing that's different in the culture between America and here is there really is no breakfast culture here in Australia. I mean, you get little bits and pieces of it, but you don't have where people will go out like, yourself on a Saturday or a Sunday morning. You can't get into a lot of the diners because they're there with family.
Yep.
Okay. Having breakfast. They go to IHOP or they go to the local diner. And they'll, and it's just like one family will come in and then there's 6 other carloads of that same family, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, all converging together on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning. You don't have that.
No. And we used to do that like after church, like you go meet, the different shops in the area. And I find that I do miss that because it was a great place because it's good to meet up with someone too. You're still meeting up. You're out of your house. You've got the whole day ahead of you still too.
Exactly.
Or, I'd meet friends before work. Like, do you want to go have breakfast? And we go to wherever.
Yeah. Like I know you go once a year over to the Pancake Parlor.
Yes, I do.
And how much does that cost for?
It is like $100 for a family of 4.
For 4.
Yep.
Right. You go to Denny's and have a Grand Slam and pancakes and whatever. 4 people will probably cost you, probably now, $40.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah, if that much. Yeah.
And
you come out, you're full, you're happy. Yeah. And lots of coffee. And you're worried. Yeah.
That's another thing that nearly killed my Herman when he came over. He's like, they want what for breakfast?
Yeah. I know.
But it's I think that's it, and it all goes around the coffee. That's where it all starts. Now, coffee, and I don't know about the coffee shops going across the country, but we were talking about it the other day at work. Coffee started in New York with...
the Greek community started it, right? It's Valisaros and Son?
Yes.
Right, so he started it, responsible for 5 million cups of coffee a week.
Yeah, I think it's the great-granddaughter's running it now, or the granddaughter.
Well, because the diners in the New York metropolitan area and the coffee shops are all run by Greeks. Mm-hmm. Okay, they used to be anyway in my day. Yeah. And we used to go down to Rector Street, which is, so if you're familiar with New York, you got Broadway running. Yep. Okay, and then you got Wall Street will be on your left-hand side going out to Lower Manhattan Financial District.
Yes.
And then across from Wall Street, where Broadway is, that breaks up where Wall Street ends or begins. And then that's Rector Street going down next to Trinity Church, which is like the oldest graveyard in New York.
Says we were there, yep.
And right down at the corner there, next to McCann's, the bar, on the corner.
I was going to go to the shoe store? No, the bar.
Is George's. Okay,
right.
So George's was like the local coffee shop run by Greeks, George and his brother George. Yeah. But they didn't use the bun machines. They had these big, giganto, they must have brewed about 20 gallons of coffee in each one. They had like 8 of them going.
Right.
Okay. And you will walk in there, there was always a queue. and they would point to you. This is sort of like, the Coke, Pepsi from Saturday
John
Night.
Belushi, yeah.
John Belushi.
Cheeseburger, chicken, chip.
They would actually point to you and say, "What they won't even say hello, how are you? None of that stuff. They just point to you. You would say, I want 2 coffee regulars and a roll with butter." And then they go to the next person because they're just taking the order and the money. The people in the back are listening and then doing it, right? If you don't, when they point to you, if you don't get your order out like in about 3.2 seconds, they skip you and go to the next person. You're done. Got no time waiting for you. People waiting.
Now,
but that was the thing, also, like you always had, when you started work or your shift, because I worked shift work also, you always started with coffee. Yeah. So you started in the coffee room. Yeah, you brought in your own coffee, or you had the coffee pot in there. Everybody sat in there before we went to work, and you went over what the the problems were, what's going on from one shift to the other, and you started in the coffee room. And then you went out into I worked in the computer room, went out in the computer room when you couldn't bring coffee in, but you went out in there and started work.
Do you remember, no one had water bottles on their desks. We all had coffee.
Coffee, yeah.
It was all just different levels.
Well, that's why things got done.
That's exactly right.
You can't get motivated drinking water. Water has no caffeine.
No.
Right? So if you drink enough coffee, boy, they did that quick. Yeah. Give me another one. You know what? Why is he so jumpy?
Well, now, in New York, New Yorkers drink an extraordinary amount of coffee. They drink 7 times more coffee than any other city in the US.
Can't you tell?
I can't.
Can't you tell?
Is that why everyone's a little bit cranky?
Cranky before they had the coffee. Wired after they have the coffee. That's why people say, how come they're always in a rush? Why are you walking so fast? If you drink as much coffee as they did, either they're walking fast because they're all high on their caffeine, or they got to go to the toilet. One of the two. So.
There's another stat that I love. There's 400. So America's 450 million cups of coffee per day, or 150 billion cups a year.
Yeah, and New York, as you said, 7 times the
So you are the winner of all of that.
Yeah.
And the consumption habit. So we take coffee a little bit differently, as in it's serious. It's part of our culture. And most people, like my dad, we go to dinner or we go to lunch, not breakfast, dinner or lunch, and he'd have a cup of coffee with his meal.
Yeah. So I couldn't do that. I could have it after the meal at certain places, like you go in some place and you have dessert. Yeah, I'll have a cup of coffee with dessert.
But we would have that at the house too. So I think sometimes that's, where you come from, where you know how that was raised. So you've got European influence with the Italian having the coffee at the end of the meal.
But that was only on, after a big meal, like on Saturday or Sunday, when you had the family that normally, Monday to Friday, coffee was only in the morning in my house.
Well, see, Dad had a pot of coffee on at 4:00 in the morning, and that thing was going until he went to bed at night. So it was just always, you sat down and did it. So I think those meals, and plus it was depending on when, it was a few cents, and you got as much as you wanted.
Well, I think also it has to go with part of the country you're from, because I remember also my sister and Norman, her husband he would always have that pot of coffee on all day. Yep. Okay. And they had 2 coffee makers. So, because I think my sister was off day caffeine and she was drinking a decaf, and Norman was still drinking the high potency one or whatever, or maybe different brands, I don't know. But they had 2 coffee makers, and they had the ones with the timers on it, so they went on automatically. So when you got up in the morning, the coffee was done.
Yes, we do that.
Yeah,
and it's so nice to wake up to the coffee's being made.
It's the best part of growing up is Folgers in your cup, right? No, it's a great part of waking up.
It's Folgers in your cup. And what was the chock full of nuts?
Is that heavenly coffee? Better coffee? No, it's the best coffee a millionaire's money can't buy.
That's so New Yorky.
Yeah. And then you got U-Band.
Yes.
Remember, you deep, dark, delicious U-Band.
See, I'm not singing. I'm not drunk.
Okay. Neither am I. That's another episode. Anyway.
And then it's like, well, people have the thing, too, that they want in their house. Like, I think we were always Folgers.
Yeah.
And then
New York,
Herman was Maxwell House.
Yeah, Maxwell's. that's good to the last drop. You know
That's
that.
exactly. See, now, if you want a free show, sometimes in the shop, Phil and I will just do taglines to each other. I might sing there. But, everyone has their favorite brand. Who is Juan Valdez?
One, I think he was Maxwell House, wasn't he?
I think I want to say, or is it Folgers?
I don't know, but he was pretty popular for a while. Him and his donkey.
That's right. He was looking at the coffee bean in the sun.
Yes.
With his serape and his donkey.
Yeah. And next to him, his kids didn't do the coffee. They were doing the cocaine in the back. They were 100% Colombian. Hey, Dad, what are you doing? There's more money in this.
Oh, my God. We had to go there. But yes, Colombian coffee. Now, we'll have to go. During the break, we checked out where Java came from. We're calling coffee Java.
Yeah.
And it's from an Indonesian island called Java that they used to get the coffee beans from. Do you know there's only one state in the U.S. that grows coffee?
I could tell you that.
Yes, I bet you can.
It's not even part of the continuous 48 states. It's outside of that.
That's exactly right.
Hawaii.
And
Corona Coffee.
There you go. I didn't know the
Kona.
name of it. Kona.
Kona.
Was it Corona?
Corona.
Oh, my God. You've got that on the brain.
Yeah.
It's not beer. It's actually when I visited.
Not just a disease. Yeah.
When I visited Zane, I'm like, she's like having Maxwell House. I'm like, but can I have some Kona while I'm here?
And it was so expensive, Kona Coffee.
Well, because, it's a specialized, it's a little place.
Yeah.
So, and people do have their favorites that come with that. And, like we were talking about with the creamers and what you do with it.
Mm.
And we used to go out because it wasn't expensive. So if you had your coffee at home or you didn't want to put it on, you could go out and meet your friends, like we said, have a coffee, and you go sit down and have your coffee.
Yep.
Takeaway wasn't what it is now. You didn't see everyone walking down the street with a cup.
No, and the headphones on, and but now, even that's getting really difficult now, walking down the street with your coffee, because you got the phone in the other hand.
That's right. You can't hold everything.
Yeah.
And we would have no lids. So it'd be like paper cups or, styrofoam coffee cups. And then that was it. And then later on, I remember getting really excited when we went to New York because I got one of those takeaway coffee cups that had the playing cards on it they used to see on NYPD Blue. I was like, Sipowitz's coffee.
Or the one with the Greek writing on it. Yeah, have a nice day. Yeah.
And so then it sort of moved to people, what's old is new again. Rather than having simple black coffee, then people went on to the Starbucks extravaganza. And that's not what we're talking about here, because they do they do their versions of lattes and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, but it's pretty poor compared to what we have here.
Yeah, because
that's why they failed the first time out.
Well, that's right. Now they keep it open for tourists here.
Yeah. What tourist? Yeah.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
And then there was also, although we do have ingenuity, as you know, the U.S. comes up with some interesting things. In 1904, so way back when, they had some horse-drawn lunch wagons that used to give you a little cardboard container of coffee.
Wow.
So did we have the first takeaway coffee? Maybe. I don't know.
Coffee on wheels.
That's exactly right.
Just thinking of having a nice cup of coffee and that smell of the horse.
I'm sure in 1904 there's lots of smells going around down the main street. And also TV and movies.
Yeah, the old product placement now. I mean, with so much of them. But, a lot of it is just like Happy Days. It was around the coffee shop.
Exactly right.
The hot shop. So even though there was the mall shop, but they were also where people went for coffee.
Well, and that's right. And I remember, because Diner, which was like 1982, 1983, it all took place pretty much at a diner. And it was great because I remember I would meet my friends late at night, and it'd be like, you finished everything, you go there, you meet there.
Well, see, in New York, we had working from midnight. I was working from midnight to 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we used to go out for like lunch at 3:30 or 4. And the only place open was the Market Diner.
Yep.
Right. And so we would drive, that's only like 5 minutes away from Lower Manhattan. So we would drive to the Market Diner, and that place was packed no matter what time you went in there.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore. I think they put a high rise there or something now.
Probably.
But the coffee was superb. The food was good. And even, the diner influence was so pronounced in that area. Again, because the Greeks owned all the diners,
Yep.
you know. And it's a shame that a lot of them were just, got out of fashion. Now people wish they were back again because it was not just a great place to have a cup of coffee, but it was for dinner, for lunch, for breakfast. It was inexpensive, and you had good, truly homemade meals, not all this fast food stuff.
It was like comfort food.
Yeah.
And, there's a blue plate special and all of that stuff.
I mean, a lot of people like to talk about, they go back home, they want to go to Applebee's or something like that. But, all that stuff is all processed. Everything's the same across the whole United States. So all the food is all done. It's frozen. But we went to the diners. Everything was local.
Yep. And you would see them flipping burgers or, or the carousel with all the pies in it.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. But you're right. We went, Brendan and I went to New York years ago with a quick visit. And we found the Seinfeld Diner.
Yeah, Tom's.
Just up before Harlem.
Yeah.
And we sat there and it was so good. Had coffee and I think I had
that was not a diner. That's a coffee shop.
Yeah. So we sat there and did that. And we had a few coffees like that in just places because you knew.
The coffee's good.
And that's what I try to tell people when they travel to the U.S. I'm like.
You need to experience that.
Yeah, and go to like a diner for breakfast. That meal will be cheap and it'll feed you all, till mid-afternoon. Bottomless coffees. Enjoy that experience. It doesn't have to be an expensive sort of thing.
Right, exactly.
And it's people watching. Especially like you going at 3 a.m.
Yeah, you don't know what's coming in and out of that. But and saying that, there was another place that I used to go when I lived in Jersey and still work in New York, so I used to drive back and forth. And on Route 1 and 9, which is famous, before the turnpike and all that, was Route 1 and 9, still there. When I used to take that up into the city because there was no tolls on that road. And there was this little, I don't know, it was sort of like a hybrid coffee shop diner, but it probably only sat about 20 people. Right? Same guy that's probably been working in there with the same shirt. They wore the white undershirt, and all that. But the best, egg roll, like a roll with eggs and stuff on it, and coffee, and it was just, and hash browns or home fries. It was home fries, not hash browns. Yeah. And, off the griddle, he had them cooking on the griddle, the potatoes, and that with the eggs, just so good. And it was like $3. Yeah.
Well, that's it.
You had that, and I was ready. By the time I had that, another 20 minutes into work, I was ready. Yeah.
I think that's why, it's such a part of it, because it's affordable and the coffee kind of follows you through it.
Yeah.
I was looking at one of my favorite, I'm a Clint Eastwood fan from Dirty Harry, because I'm a daughter of a cop. So I've used to find some things funny. And Dad had the same blow-dried hairdo and brown suits. But he, one of my best coffee scenes, and this is how your waitress will know who you are. Like Phil comes in, he's having a coffee regular, which we will talk about in a minute. So Clint Eastwood walks in, he's looking at the paper. She looks at him. She puts a styrofoam cup in, pours the coffee, and then starts pouring the sugar. But she's pouring about the whole container of sugar in it. He's not looking because he's reading. And he walks out of the coffee, gives her $1, walks out, takes a sip, spits it out, looks around, knows something's wrong. Goes back through the back, and there's guys robbing the joint. So he comes in through the back door, and he's like, "What are you doing in here?" He goes, "I've been coming here every morning for 10 years. Loretta gives me a black coffee with no sugar. This morning, she gave me sugar, lots and lots of sugar. So I've just come back to complain." And then he helps, solve the problem, Clint, Smith, and Wesson. That's the end of it. But that would be a cue. Everyone in that busy San Francisco coffee shop, that's what happened. And one of the best movie scenes ever, which I think, and also Pulp Fiction, which is not everyone's cup of tea, but when they're robbing the joint, as they go through it, that looks like an old Lions restaurant. Yeah. That's the sort of coffee shop that was in my town that I go to.
That's like the market diner. Yeah.
That's right. And so I think when they try to make sure to bring the American isms back to you, that's what they do. And they also, I was talking about with TV shows, there's Barney Miller was now Nick. I can't think of his last name. So Nick was the cop in Barney Miller. They used to always make the coffee. I love that show so much, and it's worth YouTubing Barney Miller coffee because this guy is funny. So Nick would do things like they go to make a coffee and they go to wash out the pot. He's like, "What are you doing? It needs the skin on it." I've been seasoning that pot.
It's seasoned, right? Yeah.
Or another one where he has the coffee pot sitting on his desk and there's a leak in the roof and he goes to make coffee with it. And Barney Miller's like, "What are you doing?" That's like, he goes, "It's rainwater." He goes, "But it's gone through the moldy roof." He goes, "Oh, no, it just cleared out the impurities."
And then you get like the other shows like Seinfeld. They never drank coffee on Seinfeld, but there was always a can of chocolate nuts there. The heavenly coffee. And the same thing with the Sopranos. Well, they drink a lot of coffee, but also, they do so much product placement in that show. But there was one of them just watching recently again, and there's a big can of chocolate nuts sitting on the counter, right? With the label, of course, pointing right at the camera. Right.
Well, Seinfeld, he's now doing Comedians in Cars with Coffee.
Yes.
So he's
that's over already. You're a bit late, but he's not doing it no more.
No, well, I mean, you can watch it like we watch it.
Yeah.
Go to the old ones.
But the other thing with the Sopranos, one of the things, and we keep on ordering it, but we not getting it, is Manhattan Special.
Yes,
they show that a lot on the Sopranos,
and it's a coffee soda.
It's an espresso coffee soda. So that whenever we would get it, I know we got some customers crying for it, and I get the urge for it.
Giovanni.
Yeah, and I get the urge for it a lot because it's like if you drink a little bottle of that, it's only 8 ounces, and it's like probably 6 shots of espresso in it, and double the amount of sugar that you should have. So once you finish drinking that, and it's quite nice, it has a little bit of carbonation.
Yeah, it's lovely.
But once you drink that, you are gone. You are like, where's next? And you're running around like Ralphie.
It's the original Jolt Cola.
Yeah, or double Jolt. But it's been around since I think 1862. Still family run.
I love the label. It's a very sort of 1930s looking label. And it's gold. They change it to a gold sort of foil label.
Now they have decaffeinated.
What's the point?
I know. Oh, why would you?
We were talking about earlier, the decaffeinated, you'd have the orange pot.
Yeah.
That was decaf. And then you'd have the regular pot. And then I made the mistake when I was a young 16-year-old, my boss, who was like a wonderful boss, but very intimidating. And he said, "Oh, can you get me a cup of coffee?" And it was 1985. So I said, "Yes, sir, I can." And I went and he just smelled it. I think he went, "That's decaf." I'm like, "Oh, is that what the orange one made?"
I just thought it was a pretty cup.
I just thought it was newer. Okay, I'll get you the other one.
But like we're talking about that. I don't remember going to George's and I don't think you had an option.
No.
There was no decaf. You want decaf. It's like, going to New York, you say, "Oh, can I get pineapple on my pizza?"
Oh,
like,
no.
Yeah.
Well, look, anytime my naturopath occasionally or my doctor says, you should give up coffee, I'm like, well, do you want me to start lying to you now? Because it's not going to happen. And I'm not drinking decaf.
A natural beverage.
I know. I'm not doing it. And it's affordable, but not as affordable it was in 1900. It was 5 cents a cup.
A nickel. Say it right.
I've been here too long.
And a nickel ain't worth a dime anymore.
Well, that's okay, because in 1970 it was a quarter.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think people got well, you know what? When we pay $4.50 for a coffee now, that only costs someone about 50 cents now.
The cup costs more than a coffee.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But the people started getting cranky when the price went up. So they started. That's when the bottomless cups started happening. And Wendy's went to 30 cents. And then there's a place you used to go to.
Yeah, Friendly's. That's 1977. You got here. It went for 35 cents. So the story, you want me to tell my story now?
Tell the story now.
So the story, me and our friend Billy, we used to hang out a lot together when I lived in Jersey. And the days that we did take the missuses out and go to the diner or where we went to have dinner, because we went out probably 3 or 4 times a week, because it was affordable. And we both, I worked, my wife worked, and same thing with him. And, but the rare nights, he would just call me up or I call him up and say, "Oh, let's go to Friendly's." So the thing to go to Friendly's was after dinner, we go there for an ice cream. But we, because the coffee cups are on the table, so you sit there, and of course you turn it right side up. And they know that's the signal that you want coffee. So as soon as you turn those cups the right side up, it's full. So and it just became a natural habit that we went to Wendy's, had coffee and ice cream. It was like yin and yang. You got the hot and the cold, and it just was so good together.
I forgot about the coffee cups being upside down.
Yeah. That was the signal, It's like a little
codes.
bell in the back, Oh, look, he turned the cup up. Get out there.
And then Nancy would come over and fill it up for you. I checked out our local, one of our local diners back at home, and I looked at their recent menu, and their coffee's up to $1.25.
Oh, you won't go there again.
No. I think it's because they moved premises. I'm like, they got fancy now, did they?
Can't eat atmosphere.
Now, we're talking before different parts of the country. Mm. But my part, so did you ever see American Graffiti?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the next city over. But my town is big on cruising the avenue. So our avenue is Pacific Avenue. So you get in the car and you drive up and you drive down. And you didn't have to have a fancy car. Right. It wasn't all that. It was like who you saw. There was different parking lots. Like the Jocks were at one, the Stoners were at another. Yeah. You just go up and down. And when we were cruising, we used to go to Lions, and which was right on the street, so you could watch everyone go as well and have our coffees there. Like that was part of a Saturday night cruising on the avenue. And different groups went to different places. You might be a cute boy. You might wander over to the Kmart parking lot. Mm. But it was the timing with that. And being a teenager, you can't drink till you're 21. So you're not going to bars. So the only place you can kind of go out and be out late is the
That's because you're much younger. I was drinking at 18. Actually, I probably was drinking at 14. But
I mean, legally.
Yeah. No, legally at 18 when I grew up.
Oh. No, I had to wait till I was 21 unless you were in an orchard somewhere. Mm. And we'd also, you'd see like retired cops hanging out, you'd see the police force coming to get coffees. And it was nice because you knew you were okay.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody started anything there.
No, and I'd run in and have coffee with friends before school as well at the local.
Yeah. So, like my play, I talked to, about George's when we worked on Wall Street. And then the other one, when we worked from 4 to midnight, one night out of the week, we went bowling.
Yes.
So, and we probably didn't get to the bowling alley till about 1:45, time to get out of work, and went over from Manhattan to Brooklyn, where it was in Flatbush. So it wasn't in the best neighborhood, and it was down a pretty dark street, this bowling alley, but it was open 24/7. And primarily because the cop shop was down the road.
Perfect.
And they were always in there getting coffee because they had a little coffee area in there. So it was a great place to go bowling at night with the fellas because it was well protected. Our cars weren't getting broken into outside because they would never go down that block and break into a car because not knowing that, is it a regular car or does it belong to one of the cops?
Fair point.
And then the other thing that in the bowling alley, they had extra protection too, just in case.
Yes.
They had these 2 German Shepherds that would you look at them and they start growling.
It's like Cujo.
Yeah, they would and they were always, like when the guy had to go take them out, they took both of them out at the same time. Don't touch the dogs, because they'd take your arm.
Yeah, don't pet them. They're not friendly.
Yeah. So that was pretty good. And then the other things, as we also mentioned is, that no matter what time you went to work, you started the shift with a cup of coffee.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's just something to wake you up.
It's funny. I had some of my favorites at home, and they were for different things like Lions and Denny's, but there was Perco's was a chain that used to come around. And talking about the mom and pop ones, Gdayall. There was this waitress in there. She had red hair it was out of a bottle because I'm sure it was white underneath it. And she had cat-eye glasses, no joke, and a pink uniform. They had cinnamon rolls the size of a plate.
Ooh.
It was so good. And, that was the place we'd go. Like, we'd go with Mom and I. We'd go in the mornings. We'd have coffee there, or we'd have breakfast, which was the giant. Then they'd put butter on the cinnamon roll.
Ooh. Like it was a fatty enough.
Just to add to the taste.
Yeah.
And Chuck's Diner, which I have to say, Chris Isaac, the singer, is from my hometown, and that's one of his favorite places. I still go there to see if I see him. I've never seen him yet. But what this diner is, you were talking about bowling alleys. It's moved across the street to Pacific Bowl, which is the bowling alley. Okay. So they're taking over the restaurant bit. See, bowling alleys are close to my heart because my parents met at a bowling alley. Oh. I think they met on a bet.
Near the gutter ball. Yeah. Okay.
Now, another guy wanted to ask my mom out and said, there's this hot blonde that comes in every whatever night for dinner with her mother. And my dad went in and cut his lunch for him.
Yeah. now, the places that I went to, because we didn't have like those so much the mom and pop type thing. Yeah. I mean, they were, but the coffees were too generic or whatever. Yeah. It had to be rush. You didn't have a chance to sit down. But the place that you do sit down was really famous at one time. They were all over Manhattan. Was chock full of nuts. So we talked about chock full of nuts in a can, but they originally started with coffee shops.
I never knew that.
Yeah, so there were coffee shops. Now there's none for whatever reason, because of probably Starbucks, right? So nobody can. Right. So, but the coffee shops were nice. They were quite large, and they were like a snake shape. The counters were like a snake.
Oh.
So you would be able to sit on one side of it and look at somebody that's 10 feet away from you, because in the middle, as it was snake, that's but that's where the waitress. So they had like little sections that the waitress took care of in those little
how cool.
shapes. Yeah. And then one time down on Broadway off of Wall Street, there's all these police and fire and everything. What the hell's going on? A bus went by and the truck must have, the construction dropped like a 2x4. And the bus hit the 2x4 on the wheel, but in such a way that it ricocheted off into the window of Chock full of nuts. Just like shot it out like a slingshot.
Is everyone okay?
I don't remember, but it might be somebody must have got hurt because
everyone was there.
Yeah, they had the police and the fire. God. And the other one of my first experience of going to like a coffee shop. And this was, from the going into the city with my uncle or my father for the Thanksgiving Day parade, was going to Hardart.
I don't know that.
Yeah. So Hardart was the original one that used to throw a quarter into or a dime into the little thing, turn the handle and get out a piece of cake or a sandwich.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
So that was the automat. Yeah. So that was really cool. I remember going there as a kid, like we had to go in the city with my mother or something. We always used to go to Hardart.
Oh, that would be fun.
And then, of course, my friend Charlie changed the name from Hardart to...
I don't want to know.
Okay.
I'm done. I think this is a family show. You are
I'll tell you later if you can figure it out. Sir. Okay. So we'll come right back after another coffee break with this secret code. That was nice coffee, Barbara.
Glad you liked it.
And the secret code we're up to, which is bottomless. I thought this was a family show.
Like bottomless cups of coffee, get your mind above the gutter.
Okay. It's not on the bada bing anyway.
Yes, so bottomless is the code word, and you can use that on online orders, or if you want to do a click and collect, you can place that order, use that, and then come into the shop, pick it up, and have a little peruse. We've got a whole bunch of everything at the moment, so It's good to have a look around. We are at 73 Cochrane's Road, Moorabbin. We are open Monday to Thursday from 10 to 5. On Friday, it's 10 to 8 p.m. And then on the weekend, Saturday is 10 to 5, Sunday is 11 to 4.
Okay, and now if you want to get a hold of us and give us some constructive criticism or tell us you like us or tell us you hate us or whatever.
Or your coffee stories.
Yes. Send your comments over to podcast@usafoods.com.au.
Thank you so much for that. Now, we've had some listener emails this week, as we do now.
Did we get one from Leslie this week?
We did get one from Leslie, and actually... I think Leslie might have a crush on you. I am not sure, because she just loved going back to our Christmas show, you talking about the bell when your aunts you know,
Oh, rang the
waiting.
bell.
And goes,
Yes,
and his
Santa.
voice even changed. It was lovely.
Yes.
She goes, but those ants seem to do a lot of work.
Yes, they did. Even when they got into their 80s and stuff, they were still doing everything.
Yes, I'm sure.
And of course, arguing about whatever they were doing to each other.
So that would be the best bit. I want to hear about some of those fun arguments at some point. So Leslie loved that. And my mother, I was asking her about, I couldn't think of a local coffee shop name. So I said, hey, Mom, do you remember this place? We still can't remember it. It'll come to us. But she goes, yeah, it was a really good one, which I think she remembered this one was Henry's. So this is small town for you. Mm-hmm. It was connected to the Centra Mart. All the farmers used to go there. It had a donut shop. The guy was a bit of a pervert, but he made good maple bars. So you can forgive things. I think
not going any further.
That's right. She goes, yeah. And then she kept coming up with it. Yeah. You know, we ordered a lot of maple bars for work from him.
How are the sticky donuts, the sticky treats? No.
Philip. And our friend, I'm walking right over there, our friend Megan, by the way, she loved our Mexican food convo with Richie. And she made those cranberry Christmas canes. So she sent us a few pictures. And I'm going to put the finished product up on the Instagram page so you can have a look at that. It was just a bit... It's too bad she lives in South Australia. Too bad she doesn't live in Melbourne because she couldn't get a hold of frozen cranberries. But if you do a road trip, we can help you out, Megan. Thank you so much for that. And now our favorite part
is not nosh. I've been away too long.
I was like, do you need another coffee? You had too many.
Yeah, no, I'm not wired up yet.
All right.
So today, Wednesday, January the 20th. It's National Butter Crunch Day.
Butter Crunch?
Butter Crunch. I guess that's like that sort of like, I can't think of the name of it.
Like honeycomby?
Like a honeycomby thing that's crunchy and buttery and it sounds good.
I reckon that must be a regional
like a
one.
Butterfinger, but I don't think Butterfinger has butter in it.
No, peanut butter though.
Yeah, it's peanut butter.
Okay, we'll take it for that.
Yeah. And then it's Cheese Lovers Day. And who doesn't love cheese?
Oh, I was just talking. I made some scrambled eggs with some mascarpone cheese in it. It was very good. I love that, and a little bit of brie. And I like brie cheese too.
Yeah, and recently at our friends over at Costco, they were bringing in for the holidays that hopefully still have it. Really, really some nice cheese. There was a nice Italian cheese, and then they had some Danish cheese that was smoked like a smoked cheese. And then this English one that's covered like it's red, but it's also smoky. It's
yum,
so good.
I have to.
Don't know none of the names of them, because
it's just the good cheese.
It's just good cheese. I look at them, they look good, and then bring them home. They're even better than they look.
My grandpa used to love that. I liked that. Like the stinkier the blue cheese was, the more he go, come here, so get this into you.
Yeah. And then it's National Granola Bar Day.
Does it need a day?
I don't know.
Well, that's sort of, my area, we're a bit crunchy.
Yeah. But then if you, and even Neil Diamond.
Because crunchy granola sweet?
Yes.
I just have to do an aside. I like crunchy granola bars, right? When I came here, it took a good 25 years before there was a crunchy muesli bar. They call it here. They were all like the
soft
chewy,
thing. Yeah. But the other thing that I like the crunchy ones, but the only problem is that sometimes you eat them and if you don't have something to drink it with, it's just like it's stuck and you start coughing and it's all coming out.
Well, that suits the next thing because it's also National Coffee Break Day.
Hey, let's have a coffee break.
I would rather have pie with my coffee than a granola bar,
yes.
But it's the same thing that goes through it.
And tomorrow
is
National New England Clam Chowder.
The only clam chowder.
Yeah, chowder. Yeah.
From Boston. I love clam chowder. I make it for Super Bowl when the 49ers are in because we have that when we go to San Francisco.
And do you make it in a loaf of bread?
I can't find, although now I've got my personal baker. I can order some sourdough cobs from you.
Yeah, okay. You could order what you get, what you want, and get two different things.
Now, what's the difference between New England and Manhattan?
Well, Manhattan's made with a red sauce, very Italian. So red sauce, like it's made with a tomato base.
And it's not as thick, is it?
No, it's not.
It's not chowder.
Yeah, it's not chowdery.
Yeah.
Chowder.
chat.
Yeah, so there's no dairy in it or anything like that. So it's tomatoes and clams, and yeah, I like clams. I like
I love clams.
Clams and linguine and clam sauce.
Oh, that is so good.
We'll talk about that one day because I got a real simple recipe.
Oh, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And Friday is National Blonde Brownie Day. So wouldn't that be Blondie Day?
That's Blondie Day. But wasn't it a cartoon character, Blondie?
Yeah, Dagwood and Blondie.
Yeah.
She used to have the great little rolls. I remember that. Yeah. And that is just basically a white chocolate brownie, which I make brownies and I love them all, but I can't get past the chocolate one. I've made blondies for people, but they don't.
It's like the difference between having good chocolate bar and white chocolate. I can't get excited about white chocolate. No,
I can't do that either.
No.
And Saturday,
Pie Day. Didn't we have that already?
Probably.
Yeah.
But is that when people start wearing the shirts for pie, like the mathematical equation?
Well, this is getting into late January, so you're getting ready for cherry pie. Because February is cherry pie. It has to do with George Washington. Cut down a cherry tree, which he denies. He should have been impeached for that.
Speaking of that, I made peach pie for New Year's Day. I'm just save that. This is not a political show.
Yep.
On Sunday, we've got National Peanut Butter Day.
Oh, yes.
That's an American day.
It's such a good day.
Oh, peanut butter cookies, peanut butter pie, peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and peanut butter.
Peanut butter and
peanut butter and chocolate chip cookies. We talked about that.
You know it's good? Rather than chips and dip, you get a Hershey bar, crack a little bit off, and use the peanut butter as a dip.
I do that with a lot of other foods, too. Monday, National Irish Coffee Day.
That's what we're missing.
Yes.
I've got a box.
Remember the one with Lucille Ball and that movie, and she went to the one in California?
Yes.
Buena Vista?
Yes, Buena Vista. Yes. And we should do that next time.
How come it's on in January? It should be near St. Patty's Day.
Well, maybe it's just the warm-up.
They probably do it again on St. Patty's Day. Yeah, because Irish coffee, well, I think we mentioned that maybe one time before, probably on St. Patty's Day. You need enough Irish whiskey for the cup, enough Irish whiskey for yourself, and enough for the coffee.
And a little bit of whipped cream on top.
Yeah, but have you ever had Mexican coffee?
Is that with Kahlua?
Well, no.
Okay, no, I have not then.
This one, we used to go to this only Mexican restaurant in Brooklyn. Right. And this was in downtown Brooklyn, was very expensive on Montague Street. Still a very exclusive area of Brooklyn because it overlooks the city. And this was down in the basement.
Yep.
Right. So it made great traditional Mexican food there. But they made Mexican coffee. So how they did it was they got a glass, they rimmed it with sugar.
Yum.
Okay. Poured a little bit of brandy in it, swished it around, and lit it.
Oh.
That caramelized the sugar. Okay. Then poured a little bit more brandy, then the Kahlua, then the coffee, and then they put the whipped cream on top.
Ooh.
Oh, that was so good.
I like their take on that. I think we might have to. We should try.
You need you can't use one of these type of coffee cups. You need like a bowl type.
Oh, okay.
Because you need to swish it and
set it on fire.
Yeah, set it on fire. But it's setting on fire. It's really cool because it does crystallize the sugar and changes the whole taste to it.
I've got brandy. I don't have Kahlua though, but I'm sure just a quick trip to the shop can fix that.
Okay. Well, we know what you have for tonight.
And it's Burns Night.
What is Burns Night? So it's like when you burn your hand and it's
a Scottish celebration. It's celebrating I was trying to think of his first name, the poet, the Burns.
Yeah,
Barney,
I know he's
I can't
not Barney B. Burns. No. Oh my God. John Burns.
I think it's like firecracker, but. So there must be a Scottish enclave around that celebrates it because I didn't grow up celebrating that.
Okay, Burns. Yeah, Burns. So we eat haggis.
Yes, I love haggis.
I don't remember ever having haggis.
Well,
I'm gonna have to try it. I have to go to that John's, the butcher down in Frankston.
Yes,
because he would have it there, and he has great pork pies.
Oh, I love those. True. I tried haggis on a bet because I said I love stuff like that. I'll
I was
try.
going to say Frankston. No, he's in Dandenong. So don't go to Frankston for
Go to
John.
Dandenong?
Dandenong. He's in that old part of it on the main street on the left-hand side. The only English Scottish butcher in the neighborhood there. Yeah.
Yes. I think if you Google him, he'll come up.
Mm-hmm.
And a Scottish guy came in. He had celebrated Burns Night here, and he brought in some haggis for me, thinking I'd hate it. I'm like, oh my God, do you have any more? It's just like when I had escargot.
And on Tuesday, the 26th, back to the Irish again. It's National Green Juice Day.
Right.
So it's like celery juice and...
well, yeah, you could have kale. If you could just see Phil's face on that one. It's Robert Burns.
Oh, Robert Burns.
Just come to me.
Wasn't that a pipe tobacco?
Oh, my God, I don't know.
Yes, Robert Burns.
It
was some type of tobacco.
I didn't smoke tobacco. Well,
neither
not
did I,
in a
but
pipe.
I remember the advertisements for Robert Burns. Sort of like with King Arthur.
Oh.
Yeah, there was another one.
I did not.
You know why, something about there was a joke going about because King Arthur was in the can or something like that. I don't know. And then speaking of getting back to the subject, speaking of green, it's also Pistachio Day.
See, I think this is a St. Patty's warm-up because it's the green nut.
Yeah, and then it finishes up with Port Wine Day. So port wine is Portatello, I guess. So port wine. So there's the difference between vermouth and port is because they're both very similar, but one is from Spain and one is from Italy.
Oh, okay. And then there's Portuguese as well.
Yeah, probably.
Pistachio. Back to that for 1 second. That's my favorite gelato flavor.
Pistachio.
Oh, I love
See,
pistachio.
but we used to go, and you can't find it unless you make your own. You used to go to Chinese restaurants in New York, right? And one of the flavors that they always had was pistachio. But the pistachio was done with not a maraschino cherry, but like a dark cherry. That was into the ice cream also with the pistachio.
Oh, yum.
So good. Yeah.
Okay, my
childhood memory.
I am now hungry again. As always, as we do this.
Okay, so I think that's gets us all for this week. It's been a long session here.
Yeah, well.
How much coffee can we talk about? We're tell you how wired we are.
That's what happens when you have all the coffee before you start.
Yes. And next week's show, we're looking at doing corn chips.
Which I think should be a food group. It's a vegetable.
Yes.
But that's good. That's prep because you need corn chips to get ready for Super Bowl. You need corn chips as a snack. Yeah. You need nachos. They're magic. So we'll be talking about because there's different types. There's different
types and a lot of things you could do with it. And we'll give you all of that next week of what else could you do with corn chips besides eating them out of the bag.
Yeah, well, you get a bag of corn chips to do the other bag of corn chips another way.
Yep. So I'm going to say that's it for me. And like to thank you, Barbara. And good to see you back after our little exit here. Yes. And thank our producer, Brendan, over there. And he's still chuckling for some of the things we keep on out. So if you need anything produced, video, audio, or whatever, it's fizzfarm.com.au.
That's the boy. And have a lovely week, everyone. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Once you find a love like mine, you know that love is true. Understand, I'm just a man with a pork fat baby that grew.